So welcome to another video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander.
And I'm Grant.
And today we are once again in the car, but we are...
Car video!
We are leaving Noble Knight Games. So we just spent a couple days there, stayed overnight, and just wanted to kind of, whilst we're driving, pass some time, but have a chat about kind of what we saw and experienced there, the games that we played, people we met, things like that, and just kind of like a micro debrief, if you will.
Oh, the things we saw.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You know, because sometimes when we go to these conventions, we'll like sit down a bit more formally and like walk through everything. But it was a short little trip up here, and it was really, really nice. So just wanted to kind of, you know, have a bit of a yap about kind of what we experienced. So my first time in Wisconsin. So I got to check that off. Now, we basically just went to Noble Knight Games, so it's not as if I like did anything cool. But,
right.
Although Noble Knight Games is very cool.
Yes.
But
it's definitely a destination.
Yeah. That's
somewhat
for sure.
of a mecca for gamers, right? Like and a pilgrimage for us.
Yeah, and like if it wasn't, my recommendation is make it one.
Yeah.
Because I had a wonderful time with our couple days there. It was really, really enjoyable. Everyone who works there and all the people who were coming in to visit were extremely friendly.
Yes.
And were very passionate about games of all kinds. War games are included in that as well. And it was just fun to talk to people about, you know, the kind of stuff that we do, the kind of things that they do, and what their business looks like, and all the different games that come in and out. And that was wonderful as well. You also will see that we do not have any games in the back of the car. That's not true.
No, a few games, but not.
But I've got the seats are up.
Yeah.
We got rid of a literal carload of games. And that was, we did that kind of was one of the first things that we did there. We kind of met some of the staff there, met Dan Leader, and then it was like, okay, we have some games burning a hole in the car.
Well, and it wasn't just some games.
No.
I'm going to say it was almost 200 games.
Yes.
And they were games that we had been collecting for years or, you know, bought over the years. Some games that we've played, reviewed, we just can't keep them on the shelves anymore, right? It doesn't mean they're bad games, but we actually had to make some tough decisions about what we felt we wanted to...
What it was realistic we would be able to get to as well.
And by the way, I have like 40 other games sitting on the floor ready to be played. But I will say this about the process of offloading the games onto the carts. The staff was extremely friendly.
Yes.
They were very quick, very professional about what they did. They told us, you know, the amount of store credit we got and everything. And they even shared with us the games that were the most, that got the most credit. Which if you submit online, you get a spreadsheet back with all your itemized estimate on it, so you can see all that. When we kind of dropped it off, it was like, hey, just here's everything, here's the totals. Then we had some more further questions, and they were able to kind of show us that stuff. But yeah, I am sure had we asked them, they could have printed it off.
Probably,
but I don't know that I cared that much. And the reality was, I would say about 50 or 60 of those games were not great games. There were some old Euro games that I had. Some old Euro games that you had that we just didn't want anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I bought those 10, 12 years ago, and I'm like, I'm never going to play this Euro game again ever, because we don't play Euro games that often.
No.
And so anyway, unloading those, getting those offloaded, I thought it was an experience that I'm glad that I went through.
It was really fun, and I was a little bit nervous of like, we were driving up here like, crap.
They're going to be mad.
We're going to roll it with like, is this going to be inconvenient? Are they going to be like, oh, not another one of these jerks doing this? And they were like excited that we had done it because they love it, because that's you know, they pay you and then they resell it, so that's incoming product for them.
It's the core of their business. It's how they're going to ultimately make money, right? I will say this, they did share with us a story that I thought was pretty cool. They had mentioned that one of their customers had contacted them, or the brother of one of their customers who had passed and lived in Texas, and they were trying to offload many of the games that he had collected over the years. And he said, hey, it's a lot of games. So they asked him how many he shared, and they sent a moving company down to load up a 53-foot semi.
And like 20 moving guys to pack them all up in boxes.
And then bring those home, and then he still had at least that many left over.
Yeah.
Which I thought was hilarious.
They're not going to do that for 200 games, but like the totals that we're talking about for that had like at least like another zero on that.
Yeah,
and
probably 1,000
digits.
games.
Well, I think he said closer to 3,000 how many they took, and they left about that many there as well. Like, this was a real collector.
Anyway, they shared, they didn't give any names, but I thought that was an interesting story, and frankly gave me a little bit of hope that in 30 years when I pass and my wife's got shelves and shelves of games.
Yeah, this video got dark real quick.
I know. Well, ultimately I'm going to pass someday, but I don't know. That was a great experience. Then we met Dan.
Yes.
Right. Dan Leader is I think he's the vice president of Noble Knight Games. His brother owns the the company, and started the company, but he kind of operates the company. Dan does. Really nice guy. I thought very professional.
And very personable. We talked with him on email, communicate a lot, so it was cool to meet him in person, and he was gracious enough to sit down kind of on camera. You can watch the interview with him where he talked about the history of the company and kind of
what they do, how they do it.
And that was really fun to kind of learn some of that. He gave us a tour of the facility.
That was the best part.
I mean,
that was incredible.
Because they have a really wonderful storefront, which is like a regular FLGS, all the stuff on the shelves, great little gaming area that you can go to. But then, they showed us kind of their offices where the guys who do all of the buying and
pricing
selling,
and
all of those guys. And then there's the picking and packing area where they ship out orders. And he said they do like anywhere from like 700 to 1,000 orders a day, which is incredible.
And they actually have 3 shifts of warehouse folks.
It was 2 shifts.
2 shifts. Yeah. And I think he said like 5 to 6 people picking and packing orders on each of those shifts.
Yeah.
So overall, their warehouse is 45,000 square feet.
Yeah, it's massive.
But they also have an off-site warehouse. He didn't give us the dimensions on that one. My guess is it's smaller, but probably
not insignificant.
So he said that those have games that maybe aren't as popular or sell as often. And if you order one of those, they have to drive over to the facility, retrieve it. They have a very interesting kind of a Dewey Decimal System from the days of the libraries.
That was the real incredible part. So you go back into like the warehouse part of it, where it's the storage.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was so many games, just like chock-a-block, lining so many shelves that was so big. I've never seen anything quite like it before.
Well, and they were floor to ceiling almost, right? I mean, those shelves were 12 to 15 feet tall. They had about 7 different shelves on them, and they were packed. Packed. And you would walk down them. The only thing I was disappointed in was I was hoping it would be more like, oh, these are all war games. Like aisle A, B, and C are all, it's not. It's mixed and matched, and it's kind of when they get them in, they catalog them, and then they put them on the shelves so they know where they are. They don't let people walk back there all the time, right? No. They give tours, but that was a very unique. I ended up buying Pax Romana.
Yes.
I got a 2nd edition copy that was made published in 2015 from the original game in 2008. Very interested in that game. I've always wanted it. Wasn't that like, was it $80? I think it was $80.
Yeah, so something like that.
80 or $82.
I bought Austerlitz from
the gamers.
The gamers, yeah. It's like from like the early 90s. And it was $35, and I was like, you know what? The gamers have made a lot of different and very well-regarded game systems. Might as well give it a go. If the price is, $35, we'll kind of see what it is, if it's anything interesting.
It's worth a flyer at that price,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
And we've talked about doing more Napoleonics games, right?
Yeah.
Where was that one set? That was in France, Austria.
Yeah, Austerlitz, I believe, is in Prussia.
Okay.
I could be wrong about that.
I know. We don't know as much about Napoleonics. I know many of you are aghast with disgust right now, but it'll be interesting to get that one a flyer. We also bought some dice. I mean, we bought
Oh yeah.
Some Flames of War, German Fallschirmjäger.
More custom dice.
More custom dice. German Fallschirmjäger dice, which are lovely. Green and yellow pips on the six-siders, fantastic. But we also bought some additional role-playing dice.
Yep.
That we needed like a hole in the head. But they were from Roll for Initiative.
Roll for Initiative.
And what was the other company that came in the little test tubes?
Yeah, it was.
I
They
can't
with an
remember.
S.
Well,
Just get
I've
the
got
bag.
them right here. Let's just get the bag. They're beautiful dice. Oh, this is your food. Here they are. Sorry, bear with us here. You know, we don't edit. So yeah, what's that company name? That is... Doesn't have a name on the company. Or a name on the package.
Well, they come in a cool test tube and they look fun.
Yeah, so there you go. Look at those beautiful dice. Just a whole bunch of cool stuff. And we love dice. If you know anything about us, we love dice. We bought 2 huge, gigantic 20-sided dice. There's one, there's the other. I mean, why did we need these, Alexander?
To roll.
Okay,
in
sure.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And then I got, these are the Roll for Initiative dice. They are so gorgeous. Just check those out. You can't really see. And then Alexander got these. I think these are really cool looking.
I think I got the Barbarian ones, yeah.
The Barbarian, yeah, Barbarian Rage, and I got Sorcerer's Bloodline. So, you know what? I think your dice glow in the dark.
Really?
They just glowed in the dark a little bit.
Amazing.
So I was actually proud of us that we didn't walk out of there with another truckload of games.
And the reality is it would have been very easy to do that.
Oh. Well, and the thing about Noble Knight Games, if there's a game you can imagine, they've got it in stock.
Yeah.
And if there's a game you can imagine that they don't have in stock, just wait around for a couple of
You
weeks.
put it on your wish list.
It'll come through.
Yeah.
It always does.
Patience is a virtue when it comes to Noble Knight Games, because I've had stuff on there and it pops up and you're like, oh,
I'm gonna buy
amazing,
it.
it's in. Like we were there and someone walked into the store and they picked up Africa 2 from SES from MMP, and it was like, you can't hardly get that game anywhere.
Yeah.
Because it's so well designed that it flies off the shelves, and there it was flying off the shelf. Like
that SES system is just really, really
it's
good.
Choice.
So I will. What was the? Didn't we see a copy of Case Blue?
There was at least one copy of Case Blue.
And I know that's a game that a lot of people talk about, like, oh, I would like to get my hands on a copy. Now, we looked it up, and I thought the price was...
I didn't look it up, but I know that it's probably close to 400.
400 bucks.
Maybe 500 bucks.
And it was in pretty good condition.
Almost pristine.
Almost pristine. So, you know, if you're interested, give it a look. They've got a great website. It needs a little updating. We've talked about that.
But at the same time,
it's very functional.
It's very tough to do those changes because their inventory is so big and so eclectic. It's really hard for them to like present enough of that.
Yeah.
You'd have to refine and really tweak your like search stuff to be able to pull like all that up. And that was what was a joy of like being able to kind of walk back in the archives.
Yeah.
Was just to like look. Because there's games I don't even know existed that we saw.
Sure.
Because it's just hard to like browse in that way digitally. But man, being able to walk up and down some of those, they were very gracious to let us do that. It was
the other
amazing.
really cool game that we saw picked up and handled was a first edition copy of Silver Bayonet.
Yeah.
Which, if you know anything about Silver Bayonet from GMT Games, it's Vietnam. It's the Yadrang Valley, 1965. Gene Billingsley was the designer, and it's their first game, their first published war game, I believe.
1992 or 3, something like that.
I think it was 90.
Oh, even that
1990. And we handled it because we have a deluxe second edition,
which is incredible, by the way.
We handled it. We kind of looked it over, and it was kind of cool to see that.
It's an artifact almost.
Sure.
Because the game...
I wish I would have taken a picture with it.
The game... The new version is much nicer, is what I say, right? The old one is... It's a product of its time.
Graphics have come a long way. Rules have come a long way.
But also, you know, it was their first game, and so it was like them kind of launching that. But that was really fun to see that.
Very fun. But that was... you know, we joked a lot, the Indiana Jones scene at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I mean,
in the archives. That's, if you can imagine something, that's what it is. It's just not crates of stuff.
It's just
shelves of war games and board games. So a really neat experience. I would also say they have a very welcoming and inviting atmosphere about the store. Not only the store, but the open gaming area.
Yes, yes.
Very, very clean, very well lit. A reasonable volume level. Like, I didn't feel like, even though there were 3 tables of D&D, I think, going on.
And they're big tables.
Yeah, there wasn't raucous laughter. There was a little bit, but not bad. There were about 24 other gamers around.
Yeah, and you know, they've got a game library that you can just go and like just play those games that are on the shelves there.
A terrain library for miniatures.
Yeah, there's like dedicated miniatures tables that they've got. And they run all sorts of events as well, which you can see on their website that they had posted up and around. So it was just a really nice place to kind of be and to hang out. And I think the people of Madison and Fitchburg are very lucky to have that.
Well, and the bathrooms were extremely nice. Like, those were really nice bathrooms. I'm sorry, that's kind of a weird thing to bring up.
Okay.
But most game stores I've been in, they're bad.
Yes. And here's why I think that they're good. Because it's not just a game store.
It's an office.
70 people on
work there.
Or more work there.
That's true.
And so it's like, those are professional. And so it's very clean and very tidy. And
well, and from the out, we were there from 8:30 in the morning until about 4. And it opens at 10 or 11?
I think it opens at 10-ish.
I would have to say between the hours of 10 and 4 when we were there, I saw probably several hundred people come through.
Yeah, it was rammed. There was constantly at least a line of some people at the counter.
And when we bought the final things we bought, the dice sets that I just showed you, we had 3 or 4 people in front of us waiting in line. So, and it moved quickly.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would say about the folks there, they're very kind. We already mentioned that. But they were very personable. They gave me the feeling that they actually wanted to talk to us.
Yeah.
And I saw others interacting with customers, and I got the feeling that they wanted to talk to them.
Yeah.
Because, frankly, their employees are gamers, right? They're geeks. They're into their dice goblin. We met a dice goblin, one of the administrative assistants, and
they also met dice goblins.
Oh, that's true. I can't remember her name. I'm so sorry.
Was it? Remember the K?
Was it? She was a lovely young lady and gave us a lot of good memories about dice. It was kind of fun.
And she curated some dice that they gifted us, which I was very appreciative of.
But yeah, just really down to earth, nice people. I don't know if that's part of being in Wisconsin, right? That people are just nice.
It's that Midwest hospitality.
But it had a great time. I would also say Dan and Lee, who is their store manager, Lee is, extremely nice to us. We played 4-player Time of Crisis with them on Friday evening.
Yes. Neither
of them had played the game. I'm not sure Dan is I think he's a gamer, but not a huge gamer.
I don't know how much time he has for games running that big old business.
Right.
He has a passion for them,
But we sat down, we played a 2-hour game of Time of Crisis, had a blast. Alexander and I were fighting tooth and nail to the very end.
It was great.
It was just a good time. And it was funny because Lee, after we were done, what did he do? While we were playing,
we weren't even done. Whilst we're playing, he was scrolling his own website to buy a copy of it.
Noble Knight Games to find a copy of Time of Crisis.
And
the expansion.
And he bought it that next morning, like as soon as the doors opened.
Insane, but I love that game. We talk about it a lot. It's just so fun and light, but it's a war game.
And you know, they had dabbled maybe in a little bit of wargaming, or Dan not so much, and it was like, this is a great place to start because this is, it's a kind of an area control game, it's a bit of politics, it's a deck builder, but like, it's also a war game. You send your stacks of armies out to go and do fighting. So it's this great hybrid, and it's a really good entry point. And, you know, as evidenced by teaching it to the number of people that we have over the years, I'm inclined to agree.
Yeah. But the other thing we did, right, this morning, the first thing we did, actually, the Pancake Cafe was the first thing.
The Pancake Cafe
place is amazing.
Is amazing. it's just breakfast and brunch place. We were there very early in the morning.
We actually were the first customers to walk through the door, which is embarrassing.
But we had stuff to do early.
But we had stuff to do in the morning, and we wanted to get a good breakfast. So
the pancakes there were,
well, and the bacon.
oh my gosh!
And they went on and on in their menu about it, right?
They were very explicit about like the thickness of cut of it,
1/4 inch,
and like all this stuff. Where you're like,
it was delicious.
And then when they brought it out, I'm like, oh, that's why they were bragging.
That breakfast was just so good. I had a piece of sourdough toast that had an extra sour flavor to it, and it was just divine.
Yeah,
I gave you a half a piece of it, and I think you thought the same thing. The hash browns were great. So anyway, that was the first thing we did on Saturday.
Yeah.
The next thing we did is we showed up and had arranged to meet with Saverio Spagnoli, who is one of the 3 or 4 co-designers on the upcoming Vijayanagara, the Deccan Empire in India, like the 14th century, 13 something. This was a game, it's actually with GMT Games, it's on the P500, it's at the printer, he mentioned.
Yes.
He's getting his advanced designer's copy in a couple of weeks. We kind of postulated that it would be available and shipped out by the end of the year.
Yeah,
probably.
we don't know that for sure, but like if it's at the printer, you know, it's got to print for a little bit more, 6 to 8 weeks on a boat. Then they got to pick and pack and send them out.
It'll probably be late December, early January. But it's the first entry in the Irregular Conflict series, which is a series that's a spin-off of the Coin series. I think they initially referred to it as Coin Adjacent. Isn't that kind of what Jason Carr mentioned?
Yeah, because it's games that use maybe the Coin system or systems or draw a lot from it, but that maybe don't necessarily fit the mold of like, this is a Coin game.
But it's a very cool asymmetric 3-player game. You can play it 1 to 3 because it's got a very well-defined bot system that uses cards. But it's an asymmetric area control, area influence game where the Sultanate in Delhi is one of the factions. The other 2 factions are the Vijayanagara Empire and Bamani was my name, name of my empire. We played the 2 factions that were more similar to insurgents.
Yes.
So they did some different things, but they were openly trying to rebel.
Yeah, it's more like they're like breakaway kingdoms from the Delhi, almost like
kind of like pretenders.
Trying to gain independence rather than being a traditional.
So build up influence and then revolt and take those areas over and stop paying tribute back to the Sultanate.
Yeah.
All along, there is the threat of Mongol invasions from Mongolia, Afghanistan area.
Yeah, so the Sultan's actually got to do what we pay him for, which is to defend against the Mongols, which he was not very good at.
We also, I think, were pretty savvy with those.
Yeah, well,
I think we did it the right way.
And we'd also tried to dominate most of the rest of the board, so they did not have a lot of stuff to deal with them. It was such a great 3-player. I'm going to call it a Coin experience because it is. Like so much of what was in that game is Coin. Whereas I think some of the other ones like Cross Bronx Expressway and Jester Robin, I think those will deviate a bit more.
Yeah.
But this one you're like, hey, the ops and special activities work identically. The cards and the initiative system is identical to People Power. You know, I've got a lot of the ways that your factions interact have a very similar feel to Coin, at least.
Yeah.
So, there's differences, but...
The 3 things I want to point out about the game, and we have a full review about it. There was an influence track that both the Vijayanagara Empire and the Bamani Empire wanted to focus on because it got access to extra troops, and also it gave victory points. And allowed certain, as long as you had like an influence from time to time, you could do certain things when events came up, which was very, very cool. I found that the interaction between the 2 of our factions on that was very interesting.
Yes.
A virtual tug of war that kept us involved and engaged in that. I loved the fact that the event cards, a lot of them allow you to remain eligible.
Yeah, that was something very unique about that game.
So you would take the event.
He said 2/3 of the cards
Yeah.
the events say remain
eligible, which is truly fascinating.
And it just means that other games,
you might not take
the events are like shiny distractions sometimes, but this one it's like, yeah,
they're more important.
You should do this.
Yeah.
You should do this. And then that means there's more open special activities. So it just means that more people play more often, and when they do play, they're doing more stuff.
Yeah.
So just so much stuff happens, and you don't get those periods where you're starving each other with lim ops only, and not much is changing, and you're like strangling the game.
But that was just so unique.
It was fun.
And then I also really liked the interim cards. They're not, what were they called?
Oh, I don't remember.
They had a specific name.
They have a name, but there's like 3
very unique,
dividers.
Very different. They have different they build on the story historically. I thought those were fascinating and
they don't work
interesting.
Those don't work anything like propaganda or coup cards. It's
very different.
It's just like the historical journey that like gives some benefits here or does something there.
The thing I thought was very interesting, during those interim cards, you never got any resources, right? You didn't get like a ton of resources like you do in a propaganda.
No, yeah.
So you had to continue using, mine was trade, I don't know what your...
Mine was tax.
Tax. You're a jerk. But I'm at least trading or something. Alexander ended up winning, but I think you had 11 victory points and I had 10.
Yeah, it was very close. It was a very tight game. All the way to the end, it was like...
And Severio had like 7, maybe?
Yes.
Which we had really beat him up pretty good and knocked him down near the end. But I would say that is a game that you're going to want to keep your eye on. You're going to want to get a copy of it. It's still on P500.
Yeah, if you can get it at the P500 price, you've got to jump on that.
And I think it's
well
in the
worth it.
$50 range, but beautiful components, beautiful graphic design. Those were the best player aids that I think I've had in a long time in any game.
Yeah.
Very well done. I had a blast with that one.
That was very fun, very enjoyable. And Sergio's a great guy, very amenable. And
great
it was
guy.
just like good to meet him, and he taught us and kind of walked us through it all.
We shot a video of him instructing on how
They probably have already all watched all of that.
Sure, the game works, how it works, the rules a little bit, an overview, and then we actually kind of did a first impression video at the end. I thought it was very productive.
Yeah.
Very glad that he came out. He had to be somewhere, I think, at 11 or 12, and we invited him to play John Company, and he was like, oh, that's risky for me, but it's tempting, So anyway, after that, we picked up a game of Charioteer.
Yes.
Right, with Ben and Mark.
That's great.
I'm trying to remember their names. Had a blast.
Love Charioteer.
You won.
Yeah,
you've been dominating recently.
Also, Charioteer is a game of luck more than anything else.
It's a fun game, though.
I love it.
It's one of those games that even though I lost, well, I didn't get totally. I was in 3rd place.
Yeah,
But it was fun. It's a fun game. It's got some unique mechanics. It's light. Not a war game.
No.
But there's some damage and some fighting.
But it's one of those games where we taught them and they learned it within like 2 turns.
Yep.
And then
did very well. They both did well.
Yeah, it's just like casual hanging out. People were coming to say hi, and we're just having a chat. And it's like it's less serious than other games where I don't want to be distracted.
Yeah. Do you remember the names of the gentlemen that we spoke with? I feel so bad not remembering.
I know that Chester came, Chet Bell.
Okay.
He's a friend of ours. He showed
really
up.
Nice guy.
Nice. Yeah, he lives somewhat locally. So
he had bought Tarawa 1943
from Worthington.
Love that game, solo game, but it is brutally difficult.
Yes.
And that's fine. I just told him, hey, you're going to cry a lot, but just have fun with it. I've never won that game.
Yeah.
I've absolutely never won it.
The other gentleman that sat down,
I can't remember his name.
Very sorry.
He was salt of the earth. Just a really nice fellow. I wish he could have stuck around and maybe we could have played another game with him. But
that's part of the joy of like doing these kinds of like events or like doing like things like this is that I don't know about you. I love meeting people.
I do too.
I love meeting war gamers because you don't get into war gaming by accident, and so everyone has like
a
cool wargaming story or like an affinity for it, and where that comes from is something that I like to learn about people because I think it shares some insight about them, and sometimes those stories are like really cool or just like full of like fun stories and like things to learn about people, and I really just I love doing that. So if you ever see us out in the wild, come and say hi, please.
And I could see Chester was kind of hanging back, but I'm like, just come on up. I think we're pretty friendly guys. And it was funny, the gentleman that sat next to me, and I, once again, can't remember his name, and I'm so sorry, but he made the comment that he watches all of our videos.
Yeah.
And he's never met us, but he's like, I know you guys. And I'm like, that's great. We have talked about that ad nauseum. That's what we want.
Yeah.
I just want us to feel, I want you to feel when you watch that we're just one of the guys. That we're just another wargaming duo that has a great time and talks about games. And I think we've succeeded in that. And I appreciated what he had to say. Very kind.
That's just it. We play war games for fun, and we also happen to own a camera, right? that's kind of what I.
Well, you don't even have to own a camera. We had iPhones the first
for
year and a half or 2 years.
And but
I don't recommend that.
If today's iPhones, I would recommend.
Well,
they'd be
it's
very
true.
good for it. But
their pictures and stuff are better.
Sometimes, it's just. We do this for fun and for enjoyment, and so getting to meet other people who enjoy that same hobby and have
to
a
talk
passion
about
for it. Yes,
it's so fun
because I can talk to Kelly ad nauseum about wargaming, and it's the eyes glaze over a little bit, and she's like, "Oh yeah,
sounds great."
And here's me like going on a tirade about Rommel in North Africa, and she's like, "Yeah, okay, dude," like. I know this sound, and I preface all my stories with like, I know you don't care, but I'm gonna say it anyway.
Yeah, right.
But so meeting people who like genuinely like share that passion and like have experienced some of those games, it's so fun.
Very cool.
That's why I like doing this kind of thing.
Well, and I think we're going to do this again. It might be a couple of, maybe not next year, but maybe the year after. And we'll try to do a little more marketing this next time. And, I had a death in my family and we had to cancel. And I know that there were several people that were going to come.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work out. But I bet we had 7 or 8 people that came up and said hi, and 5 or 6.
But I'm
maybe
also,
not 7 or 8.
it was cool to meet those people, and it was great to just like meet everyone at Noble Knight who have sponsored us for a good chunk of time now, and we're very grateful for them as well because they helped to make this kind of stuff possible. And so that was fun to just like meet all of those guys as well.
Well worth the trip.
Yeah,
a 5-hour trip, well worth it.
Yes, and if you live closer than 5 hours, you should definitely make that trip.
Well, we'll play some games. We'll have some fun. We had some pizza there today. It was really nice.
Topper's Pizza was
really
good.
Dang.
And we went to Hop House for dinner the other night.
So good. Cheese curds were amazing.
This is like corny as hell, but the cheese curds there with a little habanero ranch dip. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I don't know, that was like the most stereotypical Wisconsin trash that like I could have said, but damn it, if it wasn't amazing.
It was so good.
So, play to your strengths. That's all I'm saying. It was so good.
Well, there's nothing like a cheese curd that when you bite into it, it squeaks.
Yeah.
And those were pretty squeaky, but they also had a glorious,
very
golden brown light breading.
Oh,
so good. And that habanero was so good.
That was fire.
I could have eaten more of that just in and of itself.
Yeah.
But had a ball. Glad we did it. Got rid of a lot of games. Picked up a couple of new games.
Made space for a lot of new games.
Yeah, well, and you made the comment it didn't really put a dent in your shelves.
I'm gonna.
You need to reassess.
I have to like consolidate and put everything, but yeah,
because you've got holes here and there.
I thought it was gonna make more space, so I don't know. Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. In mine, it did make a lot of space,
which is great news.
I bet I've got 6 full Calyx squares available now.
I mean, that's a lot of new games that we can buy.
Yeah, we'll get out and get some for sure. My wife loves it.
Vision Nagara.
Yeah. But had a great time. I had a good time.
Yes.
So glad we went.
So once again, big shout out to everyone over at Noble Knight. Those guys are tip top. Everyone was mega friendly and really nice.
And if you haven't patronized Noble Knight, go on their website. You're going to find something you want.
Yes.
Whether you're a true wargamer or not, you're going to find something you want.
So yeah, even if you can't find what you're looking for, you got to make use of Noble Knight's wish list.
Because you get
function.
an email when it comes in.
It's
just so easy.
Yeah. And then something that I learned from them is that like when you put stuff into your cart, it kind of gets hidden from the search function for a short amount of time whilst you buy it.
So someone can't buy it out from underneath
Yeah, because that doesn't hose them when they've got to go pick 2 off the shelf and there's only 1 if they
Sure.
had those mittens. So like, I have regularly used that function. That's how I picked up Africa 2 from them. That's how I picked up a couple other games where it was like the email came through and it was like, press the big red button, let's go. And that was a great way to just like get very rare games or games that I've been looking for and just like can't get locally. So I cannot stress how much that function is awesome. And the email might come through and you look at it and you're like, that's too pricey for me. And so just like, you wait. When the next one comes in, they're like, hey, this one's in very good condition. It's $20 cheap. You're like, cool, I'm pull the trigger on that. It's a great
function. And I think their prices have a lot to do with how many they have on their shelves at the time. And they can go up and down, right? They're not going to always be the same price. They also have regular sales. They actually have a sale on October 6th through, you say like 9th or 10th or something like that?
Yeah, so they got the 6th through 8th, which is like their gas sale where like you can drive up there yourself, dump your games off.
They'll pay you,
reimburse an amount of your gas that it costs to drive there.
Cool.
Up to like 10% of the value of your trade-in. So if you trade in a bunch of stuff, they'll pay you a whole tank of gas.
Yeah.
So that's really neat. And then, but like, they'll have a holiday sale for like the whole of November and like a bunch of December as well.
Yeah.
So like you can wait and look for discounts and things like that if that's what you're really concerned about. But I love the functionality of the system because it shows me things that I can't find anywhere else.
Yeah.
And it's like the email comes through, I'm like, yes.
Well, and I think finally the final comment I would have about Noble Knight, I've said this a couple of times, they offer a service to wargamers, the wargaming community. It's a very valuable service. It's a place for us to trade games in, to get more games, to look for games, to know what's out there, and it's just way cool.
And a big shout out to them because the people who work in their warehouse do an exceptional job. I've never had a game that arrived damaged. I've never had a game that didn't arrive in like 2 or 3 days.
2 or 3 days, yeah.
Their turnaround is incredible. I know those people work very hard, and their service is second to none in the industry.
Yeah.
Without question. So yeah, I'm very grateful for our partnership with them. It was really cool to go up there and meet everyone.
Had a blast.
Yeah, it was great. If you have the opportunity to go and do it, please go and do it. It's a great time. They will take any and all of your games, and you can turn around and spend it in their store.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that.
But yes,
we're all collectors. We all buy games. We buy games we don't need, and that's fine. That's great.
It was nice talking to a lot of members of their staff where they do the same thing.
Yeah.
So it made me feel less bad.
Yeah.
But yes, a wonderful experience. I had a great time.
Me too.
Would definitely do it again in the future. Please go and check them out for like online, but like go to their store if you are local in any way, shape or form. But appreciate everyone for coming along on the ride with us and tuning in. I'm Alexander for theplayersaid.com.
And I'm Grant.